Hey guys, my name's Sam and welcome to Prep Medic. In this week's video, we're doing a walkthrough of the candy pouch that I keep on me as a critical care flight paramedic. So I pretty recently started working as a critical care flight paramedic for a service here in Colorado. Now, our helicopter does a lot of critical care transfers, which are basically from an ER to an ICU, ICU to ICU, or emergency room to emergency room. We also do scene responses if somebody has a really bad car wreck or if there's a mountain rescue or something like that, we can respond to that as well. So getting this new job, I started to kind of redo what I keep on me as a paramedic because the working environment is completely different when you're in a large Horton ambulance to when you're in the back of a A-Star, which is a very cramped airframe. So I've kind of decided to carry a lot of things on me. Now, this is not my everyday carry. There's a lot of other stuff on my flight suit that I have, like shears, carabiners, pens, that kind of thing. But the one thing that I really felt like I needed was something that we kind of refer to as a candy pouch. And this is just a small pouch that we keep on our persons that has two different kinds of items in it. Number one, it has the things, the little bits and bobs that I need on a regular basis that it's a lot of work to dig through one of our large first out bags. We have some huge stat packs. I know where to find everything in here, it just takes a little bit more time. And then the other kind of category of supplies in here are gonna be the things that I don't have time to dig for, or the really low use but really high severity items that I feel like I need access to right away. So that's kind of the thought behind this pouch, and I'll kind of explain a little bit more as we get into it. So the pouch itself that I'm using, this is the Crow Medical NART case. I'm gonna come out and say it, this is a incredibly expensive case, and no, there is no sponsorship for this channel. I actually went out and bought this with my own money. So with this is not for everyone because this is almost 170 bucks. It is top tier, it is high quality equipment. So if it's something you're gonna be using every single day, like invest once, buy once, cry once, that's kind of my philosophy. But if you're looking for something similar to this or you like the concept, there are some cheaper options out there. These are two cases by Maxpedition that basically do the same thing, except they're a little bit less customizable. Vanquist Gear also makes some really good pocket organizers for you. So just be aware there are cheaper options out there other than what I'm showing you here. So on the outside of this is just a nylon case. I'll leave the dimensions up on the screen, and I keep this in the right ankle pocket of my flight suit. I tried keeping it in kind of the right cargo pocket underneath my scissors and stuff. It just doesn't fit super well. It's a little bit too bulky there and actually fits really well in the ankle portion of that. It does make it a little bit more difficult to get out, and I am playing with different kind of setups for this, and I have a couple other options on the way. But like everything, if it has tactical on it, it's gonna be back ordered at the moment. So, case itself, nylon case, pretty sturdy. That's one of the reasons I got it. You've got a little loop field here, and I just have a little med pouch or med patch on it for identification. Zipper pulls are absolutely massive, high quality, so you can get it in a hurry. Now, on the inside, one of the reasons I bought this pouch specifically is because this panel here, the left side panel, allows you to wrap or route elastic loop through it so you can customize the size based on what you're carrying. So I have this loaded exactly how I need it, and then I can adjust the retention based on how much I have jammed into each one, so I'm not really working too hard to get stuff shoved in there like you will on some of the set elastic products. And then on the right, you've got three kind of kangaroo pouches that you can put other supplies. Now on the back of this, you've got a really hard plastic cover. So this is originally intended to carry like narcotics or medication vials. You can see I have one in here, but that's not the primary purpose of it. So you could have a bunch of medication vials, in which case this plastic's really nice because it makes it a little bit more crush resistant. You're not gonna damage the medications inside of it. So we're gonna start on the right side and we're gonna work our way over on the things I have in here. So right down here in this pocket, I have a bunch of different syringes. So specifically in here, I'm carrying two 3 mLs, one 1 ml, and then a 5 ml syringe. And these are the most common syringes we use to draw up meds and to push medications in. I really found transitioning into the critical care world, our patients are a lot more complicated, and I end up giving a lot more medications, flushing a lot more lines, and syringes are something you never have enough of, especially when time's of the essence. I like to be able to select what I need from a small selection and give it really quickly. So I've got those 4 syringes down there. Now coming up to this middle pocket, this is kind of the supplies we were talking about where it's really low use but really high acuity. So in here I have 1 ARS needle for a needle decompression, especially vented patients, especially patients at altitude, as in a helicopter. If they develop a tension pneumothorax, it will kill them very quickly. So I like to have really rapid access to this. And also, since I'm working with a nurse partner, it kind of becomes whoever has the tool first gets to do the procedure. And I like practicing my skills and doing my skills. So I have this on hand. Now this is a 10 gauge ARS needle from North American Rescue for the tension pneumothorax. Now the middle pocket also, I have a North American Rescue tracheostomy kit. What I really like about this is that it has the trach tube or the crite tube on a bougie. So it's preloaded onto a bougie. It makes it really easy to do. You don't have to feed a bougie when you're in that really stressful situation. And it's a little bit smaller, so you don't have this massive thing. For those of you that don't know, a bougie is like an introducer. It's a really small diameter, so when you make the cut, or if you're intubating somebody, it allows you to kind of feed that, and then you feed the tube over it as kind of a guide wire. So this is something I keep in there because this is not something we do very often at all. And then I have a surgical scalpel. So it's just for that cricothyrotomy there. Now, last but not least on the right side, I have everything we need to start an IV. So I just have a 20 gauge IV needle, a start kit, and then a J-loop. One of those things, we don't start a ton of IVs because most of our patients already have them. You know, if we're on a scene, a lot of times a paramedic ambulance is there. They've started an IV already. And then at a hospital, they almost always have access. But we do occasionally have to start it, and it's just a lot easier, especially in the airframe, than digging for each individual thing to have it right there and ready for use. Now, on the left side here, I have a lot of kind of med admin things, I'd say. So first thing you're gonna notice is I have 2 saline flushes on this side. Now, saline flushes are something you never have enough of. Like, you always need these things to flush central lines, to confirm placement, to give medications. We reconstitute one of these with a little bit of epinephrine for a push dose epi for some of our temporary pressors. We need these a ton, and we don't always have enough, so it's just good to have 2 on you. You don't have to scramble for it to flush a med into a patient. Right here, I have 2 blunt tip needles. So these guys here just allow me to stab into a vial of medication and draw that up. It's a lot safer to use this to draw up a medication instead of trying to take a needle, push it in there, because if I'm doing this in a bumpy aircraft, I can give myself a stick, then I have to get a new needle, there's paperwork, it's just kind of a mess. So I carry some blunt tips in here because they're something that I feel like I always have to find. And they're really hard to find when you're in a stressful situation. On that top row then, I have a vial of Zofran. So obviously we're in an aircraft. People get sick. People get really motion sick really quickly. I don't want that patient throwing up because it is, 1, it's super uncomfortable for them. Number 2, it's very hard to clean up in an aircraft, and there's not a whole lot we're gonna do during the flight. So it's just good to have some Zofran on hand. You can give that really quickly if somebody's getting sick. And it just keeps things from getting too messy and too uncomfortable. Down the second row, we have what's called a crow's foot. So this is a smaller version of what's usually called an anesthesia bridge. And basically what it does, it takes 1 IV port and it turns it into 3. So if we have a lot of medications we're giving, assuming they're all compatible in the same IV line, I can throw this on their IV and then I can put 3 different drips into 1 chamber. So a lot of times people are on multiple pressors. Pressors are almost always compatible with each other, so we'll do this, or we'll have a rescue line running into one and the meds in the other. So just something that's good to have. It makes patient management a lot easier, especially if they only have 1 IV site. This is a game changer for that. Next to that, we have a 3-way stopcock. So this guy here, we use it primarily for push-pull fluid administration, blood administration in pediatric patients. You turn this little dial here and it will allow you to pick what you're drawing out of. So if you have a bag of saline, turn it off to the patient, you draw in a 60 ml syringe this way, you turn it off to the bag, and then you can push that into the patient and really tightly control what you're giving to them instead of just dripping it in over time. It's a really good way to give fluid bolus to pediatric patients. Then on the bottom here, we've got a couple other things. So this was one thing that I added after I posted this on Instagram because somebody had a really good recommendation. This is an atomizer. So some medications can be given intranasal. If we don't have IV access, we need something really rapid. It actually will absorb better than IM most of the time. It's a little bit more inconsistent, but it's a great way to give meds. So pain management for pediatric patients, you can give fentanyl through this. You can also give midazolam through this if you have to, and even ketamine, but we don't really have a protocol for intranasal ketamine. So for this, this will just allow us to give that administration up the nose, pretty quick absorption. And then under that, I just have a lure lock. So the lure lock is something that goes on the end of an IV cap. It makes it a one-way valve. So if I take it off, it won't backflow with blood, fill up the line. Just sometimes they get lost. It's just something easy to have, and then I don't have to restart an IV or replace the entire J-loop. Down here, I think this is one of my favorite devices, and I didn't even know this existed while I was a street paramedic, but this we call a TIE Fighter. And what it actually is, it's a rapid fill connector, and this will connect 2 syringes to each other. So if I need to reconstitute a medication, so in our push dose pressors, the way we do that for epi is we take 1 ml out of one of these 10 ml syringes. We take 1 ml of the 1 to 10,000 epi, push it in there, and this makes it really easy to make that transition occur. So I really, really love this device. It's just super easy, complete lifesaver, literally and figuratively. Now, last but not least, on the panel here, we have a connector for a VAMP system. If somebody has an arterial line, we do point of care testing with iStats in the helicopter. So with this allows me to connect to that and then fill vials or fill a syringe as we need to get that point of care testing. We can run those labs real time. So just one of those things that if I had to grab it right now, I'm not even sure where it would be on the ambulance. Now, last but not least, this isn't really technically a pocket for it, but if you come in here under this plastic insert, I've got a couple things. One, just a survey. Flight EMS is really predicated on customer service, whether that's to a hospital, to a patient or something. So we like to have feedback on how we're doing as an industry. And then last but not least, if anybody does run into me on a call or somewhere in Colorado, I just carry 2 stickers in there that I can hand out, and that is me thinking very highly of myself that somebody would actually want these. But if you see me and if you can identify me through a mask, I will be happy to give you a Prep Medic sticker. Kind of like I was talking about at the beginning of this video, this is something that's going to be changing over time. I really wanted to do this early, kind of in my flight career, because this is something that will adapt over time. So far I have used, with the exception of the Crite kit and the atomizer, I've used everything in this kit at least once. So it is definitely something we're using pretty regularly, but as time goes on, I'll be adding, subtracting from this, depending on what our needs are. And then I'm sure it will also change in the winter or summer, depending how much I want to have on me. Guys, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I do plan to be doing a full EDC video. I'm kind of still working out the kinks of what I'm carrying because that's not something I really have down to a science yet. So, like I said, if you have questions, leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you next week.